and welcome to another episode of the Roll-Wise Show, the place where we talk about a lot of things tabletop role-playing. Today, we're going to be continuing our play into Teeth, Night of the Hogman, where both Jeff and I are playing as travelers that are in kind of a bad predicament. So I'm going to turn it over to Brent, who's going to be running us through this introductory adventure, and he'll take it from here. There you go, Brent.
Yeah, so welcome to part 2 of Night of the Hogmen. Where our interesting travelers are currently in a ox-drawn cart moving towards a farmhouse. Did you guys want to go ahead and reintroduce your characters just in case anybody missed the first episode, if you could?
Sure. Yeah, so my character is Mr. Trode Wickle. He is, his kind of catchphrase is, that aroma, so fungal. And he's kind of, as you may guess, a researcher, a scientist of sort. And he is, I would say he's kind of he has a more interesting approach to everything around him. He tends to be, he packed light with only some things like vials and a huge brass syringe, almost comically large, I'm guessing, because this game seems to take it in stride. And then also I have a pickled octopus in a jar that I keep with me as a
He is the
snack.
royal disease collector, and how he
Mhm.
collects them might be a variety of ways.
Well, the syringe helps, I'm suspecting. Because brass is notoriously good at transferring diseases without getting me in trouble. So
Yeah, very hypoallergenic. Jeff?
I'm playing Lady Katerina de Grope. She is described as being a haughty dowager. Her little saying is, "A good husband leaves you more jewelry than memories." And she doesn't have a lot of patience for the men around her not being able to make decisions, so she mostly takes charge, and everyone seems to let her, at least based on last week. Speaks loudly enough and with enough confidence that
she's a very commanding woman. Let's say other members that are currently traveling with our two travelers are an ox, a kind of lazy gray ox, a man in a crow's cage in the back of the ox-drawn cart, Sir Shartle Pudget, a man of culture and girth, a wayward husband who apparently is potentially the captor of the man in the cage, Maxwell and Fritz, the two guards that they encountered on the road, who are currently accompanying Lady de Grope to keep guard over her. And so they recently acquired the ox-drawn carts and are going down a small path towards this church off in the distance, which is the only looks like the only place suitable for the siege of the waves of Hogmen that are behind them. Currently, as they're moving down the road off to the side of the road, they're passing a farmhouse. And unlike other places they've seen so far, this one seems to be occupied. There is a light on upstairs and the smell of baking pie wafting through the air.
That seems unusual, but it's not unusual to bake pie. I mean, what kind of pie do we know? Like, is it a mincemeat or is it a...
You can't really tell from outside. You can go inside and investigate if you'd like.
Yeah, I think you should take one of the guards and investigate. Those people may need help. They may not be aware that the Hogman's coming, and they probably should join us and go to the church.
They should seek refuge. Of course. I go and take one of the two guards. What were the two guards' names? They were
Maxwell and Fritz.
Yep.
Maxwell and Fritz, yes. I take Maxwell. Just because I arbitrarily chose Maxwell. And I say, Maxwell, come with me. Lead the way up to this house so we can make sure that these people also can get away from these terrible hog creatures.
And off in the distance, you hear the call. The Hogmen are coming, screamed at the top of someone's lungs as you approach the home.
Do not tarry, man. Come, come.
So yeah, you approach the home.
Okay. I have Maxwell obviously knock on the door. Since it's a station, he should be doing the menial things.
Okay. Yeah, he knocks for you, and kind of steps to the side as the door opens. A kind of dowdy but kind old woman seems to open the door, or not seems to open the door. She does open the door, and says, "Oh, hello, dearie."
Madame, there's a terrible thing happening in this village. There appear to be hogmen on the loose. We are gathering people and heading to the church. Please come with us. There'll be strength in numbers.
She says, "Oh, I need to get the pie," and turns around and walks back into the kitchen.
I look over at Maxwell like, okay, that was easy. And I'm like, well, does she need help with the pie? Maxwell, see if she needs help with this pie. Get her moving.
So Maxwell goes inside, and you see another figure who goes up to Maxwell and starts talking to him. An older man, farmer, kind of large farmer, is talking to Maxwell. And they have a kind of a quick conversation. And Maxwell turns around and walks back to you, and he says, "The farmer says we'll be safe in the basement. He says the master will keep everyone safe in the basement. And there's pie."
Is this a religious thing? Like I ask, because that doesn't seem like faith in the Almighty above. That seems a little bit more present.
Are you acting Maxwell?
Yes.
He just gives you a shrug.
Well, I go in and ask the large man, the kind sir. Maxwell informs me that you're looking to stay in spite of the dangers these hogmen present. Don't you find refuge in the Lord's house?
He says, "I'm sure the master will keep us safe. And if you wish to be safe, you just go and you can hide in the basement."
Who is this master you speak of? Is this someone with the guards?
He just said he's the master.
And Maxwell doesn't know who he is. I don't know who he is. It seems like a different than religious figure. Oh my God, I'm curious. What does this basement look like?
I mean, you would have to go in the basement.
The basement, yeah.
There's a door down into the basement.
There's a part of my brain that's curious how this basement's going to keep him safe. But I will not. I say, Maxwell. It appears as though they've chosen their fate. They trust in some power greater than themselves.
The old woman comes out and says, "Oh, I also have made stew with the pie. Does anybody need any food?" And as if by summoning, Mr. Sir Pudget arrives at the door. Like, he moved faster than anyone you've ever seen, Lady Grope. He smelled the pie and the stew, and he basically rolled out of the back of the carts and hot-footed up to the door. And he says, "I smell pie," as he's standing in the doorway.
And I make a comment about the suspension of the cart being much stouter than I would have anticipated.
It creaks a lot when he leaves, that's for sure. And the old woman looks at Sir Pudget and said, "Oh, you can't have the pie. The pie's for witches. The witches, but you can have some of the stew."
Pudget, this is the only time I'm going to give you this advice.
He's already moving past you.
I look at Maxwell and I'm like, Maxwell, I think it's a grave mistake to stay here any longer. Let's go. And do not have any pie. and I kind of hurry Maxwell out of there, and I say, Pudget, make sure that they stay safe.
Okay, you're just leaving them.
Well, I ask him if he. I do try to warn him, like, hey, Pudget. I think, Mr. Pudget, I think you should definitely come along with us. If you don't come now, we won't make it to the church in time.
The farmer, as you're talking to Pudget, the farmer goes and closes the door and says, "Are you sure you don't want to take refuge in the basement? The master will protect everyone."
Pudget, this is your last. We must go, sir. We still have to look for other people that we must save. Maxwell, come. Pudget, will you be coming with us, or will you be seeking refuge here?
Pudget is eating the stew and doesn't say anything. He just keeps eating.
I think he's made his choice. Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
I say, Godspeed, man. And I tap him on his soft shoulder and, and
Okay.
I go. And then as we get back, I'll confer with Lady de Grace if she wants me to drag him from that house, or if he's a lost cause. So that's my request of you before we just like hightail it with the oxen.
I say he's made his decision. We don't have time to tarry. The cries seem to be getting closer. We should continue on towards the church. I don't know who this master is that you spoke of, and hopefully Sir Pudget is okay. But he's cast his lot and made his decision, and what will be will be.
Yep, it would be terrible if he were to become meat pies for the witches as well. But we'll find out after the storm.
Okay. So yeah, you move along, and as you move along, you eventually come to a fork in the road. One way sinks off into a dark bog, and the other winds circuitously towards the thicket of tangled vegetation. You have a choice. Which path would you like to take?
The straight one that looks more dangerous on the surface, or the circuitous one that looks like it might be slightly safer?
Well, one is a bog and one looks pretty thicket, so you know that either one will probably take a little extra time.
Okay.
But it's going to be hard to get the cart
through the bog. We're going to have to go through the proceed, follow the road to the thicket. We don't have much choice, not with the cart. We'll spend all of our time pushing the cart.
So de Grope kind of takes control and ushers the oxen towards the tangle. The two guards, the two military men, are very happy because they're both able to sit in the back of the dox cart now, by the way, since Chartle Pudget is no longer occupying the large amount of space. You do notice that they huddle pretty forward towards your guys' backs, away from the man in the cage, who continues to whine and lament that you should let him out. But anytime any fingers come close to the cage, he tries to bite them.
I wonder if he knows anything about masters or witches in these woods.
You might as well talk to him.
Inquiry. I toss an inquiry in his direction.
He just basically refuses to talk unless you let him out. And how closely are you watching the husband?
I guess I would say
one of the guards should be watching the husband.
Roll
the back though. So I'm not watching. I'm watching the crazy guy.
Somebody...
Yeah, Fritz should be watching the husband.
One of you roll wits for me. Or both of you go ahead and roll wits for me.
Yeah, I've got one, so
I have 2 in wits.
Both of you roll it.
I got a 2.
Let's see. Three, so not very spectacular for either one of us.
Yeah, so at some point, as you're trying to talk to the old man in the cage, and you're busy like navigating this kind of denser thicket, kind of getting the ox because the ox is kind of stubborn and you have to kind of keep it moving through the branches. Eventually, as you come through one of the thicker areas, you both notice that the husband is pretty much he fell back, and finally he's just not following the cart anymore.
Okay.
Add another variable to this evening. Ugh.
And then eventually, as the further you get from the thicket, you do hear a scream that sounds like him. And you hear the words, "The Hogmen are coming!" And then a blood-curdling scream. And then, as you break through the thicket, you see the church ahead.
I think he made a poor choice, even if he does have a suspect background.
He was trying to get back to his wife, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say. They do have an old man in a cage. Anyways, you guys have reached the church.
Okay. Well, at this point, I mean, how close do we feel like the Hogmen are comparatively? Like, do we feel like the squealing is all around us? Like, I mean, because we obviously have a sense of urgency, but I mean, do we need to like rush in there and then?
They're close, but you do have time to prepare.
Okay. Is there
time to prepare for the siege?
Is there a way to get the guy in the cage in there without letting him out of the cage?
A couple of you could probably, lift it and carry him in.
I guess that's Fritz and Max's job.
Okay. What else? What they'll do is they'll get some boards and they'll slide it through the top and like carry it in without getting close to touching him.
Palanquin style or whatever.
Yeah. Smart boys. I like them more and more.
Yeah, so because of the tangled thicket, I'm going to add 1 to the clock, and then I'm going to add 1 to the clock for like the hassle of them moving him into the church. Okay. How else would you like to church? So the church itself is an old stone building, but it's pretty old. So some of the stones seem to be in disrepair. It doesn't look like no one is in the church. It is empty. It has
lit, or do we just see the kind of outline of it?
You just saw the church. There is a light that is like up in the bell tower. It looks like is probably what you saw from the distance. There is a bell tower that reaches up above the church. It's kind of your standard like small a roof church at the front with the tall bell tower at the end.
Okay, so at this point, do Maxwell and Fritz have any ideas as to like what we could do to make this defensible? Because I feel like the blocking the doors is like an obvious first choice, you know. And I think there's likely the one door and possibly windows. I mean, not that.
Oh, there are stained glass windows. There's about 4 stained glass windows on each side. They're about 5 feet tall. So they're off the ground. Okay. So the first thing that they suggest for a defensible position is barring the door. And as you go inside, you see there's like 8 pews, and they suggest like putting some of those up against the door. There is a door, they can bar the door. And then they suggest a fallback position where they can shoot from. And then like they suggest a series of basically fallback positions.
Yeah, I tell them to direct us, and everybody needs to pitch in, and
they direct you to the best of their ability. Because again, you realize they're not the best soldiers, nor are they the smartest men. So a lot of their stuff is basic. Like I said, they suggest fallback points. So tell me. You can use Fritz and Maxwell will offer guidance, but so what they suggest first is barring the door, and then
laying
the pews over, so they can shoot. And then what do you want to do after that? As you go in, There's an open like archway that goes back to like a little rectory room, and then past that goes to the tower, which there's a stone stairs leading all the way up to the bell.
Yeah, Doctor, do you want to head up the tower and see what you can see? And if you think ringing the bell might call someone to come help, or let them know there's people in the church?
Yeah, I can.
Well, the first thing The first thing you do notice is usually in these bell towers, there's a rope that hangs down from the bell down to the bottom of the bell tower, so somebody doesn't have to go all the way up to the top. The
Mhm.
rope is gone.
I wonder if that means that making noise is bad. Climb up and see what you can see, but don't ring the bell.
Yeah, I'll go do that. The only question I had was, were there any kind of storm shutters or anything on the inside of the church for the windows, or on the outside even? Like, okay,
Nope, it's just open
Okay.
stained glass.
I guess I'll look through the rectory to see if there's anything that might help us. I doubt it, but
Okay. It's the same. It's the same sort of stuff. There really isn't. There's, it looks like it's been fairly well cleared out. Like maybe this church hasn't been used in a while.
Yeah.
There are some signs that somebody was there recently. Like I said, the torch. It seems like maybe ritually, there's torches that are kept in the when Wickle goes up Trode. When he goes up, he notices that there's like 3 torches that are lit, more like for a ceremonial thing around the bell. So you know somebody's probably been in there and lit the torches just as like a light or something, a beacon sort of thing, out of some religious ceremony, but that's like pretty much it. Everything else is pretty much either been cleared out. There really isn't there isn't really anything else. No, there's no weapons here or anything, just what you've managed to gather on the way here.
Okay.
And what you're carrying on yourself.
How is the bell fixed to the tower? Is it like because my thought process is there still a bell, first of all?
Yep, bell is there.
Okay. Is it just connected via like rope to a
No, it's like 2
rafter?
stone pinions that come down.
Okay.
And then there's a bar across, so when it's agitated, it'll ring, it'll swing and ring.
Okay.
But usually there's a rope hanging from you can see where it seems to have frayed and either fallen off or rotted off. You can see where I don't know what the piece of that bell is called, the dinger part. You can see where the rope used to be connected to it, where somebody used to ring it from the bottom.
Okay. Because what I was thinking is that it's a highly defensible position to have a bell fall from the tower down. That could buy us time. Is one of my thoughts, is that if we needed to fall back to this as being kind of our ultimate last stand, that to find a way to make that disengage from its current perch and just drop down the thing is a possibility. I don't know where we would go, but
there are, so just to let you know, the bell tower is completely open too. So like you could climb out on the roof if you wanted to. As far as knocking it down, it would take some work because you don't really have any tools to do that.
Well, we have gunpowder, and gunpowder usually makes a lot of things better.
You'd have to like climb out over the opening to affix gunpowder to the like
Correction.
Supports.
Maxwell would have to climb out over.
Well, they're going to be, if you want them shooting hogmen.
Yeah, they're going to have to be shooting.
Yeah, because what I'm going to do is what I did is setting up the door is a clock piece, and then setting up the second is a clock piece, so you can hear the hogmen very close now. You have very little time left.
Okay. So that would be my suggestion, but it sounds like otherwise we can make it up into this roof business, and that could be our last point of holding them off, is to hope that they can't stand on the roof with their hog feet. Did I see what kind of feet they have? Do they have cloven hooves, or do they have?
Yeah, they have. I mean, they have hog feet. They have hog hooves.
Is this a thatch roof or a stone tile roof?
It's like a stone tile roof.
Looking promising. I could see these hogmen dancing their way off this roof if they try to catch us. Just a thought. Okay, well, I go make a report down to the others as to what's in this bell tower, and kind of my thought that might be like a last effort to buy us time should they breach the chambers.
So did you want to come up with a plan to ring the bell to possibly bring reinforcements, or is that not something that you're interested in?
Either brings reinforcements or it tells the Hogmen exactly where to come to.
Yeah, I'm at a 50-50 on that because that was my thought, is that it either attracts more Hogmen or it attracts reinforcements. I have a feeling that I'm kind of ambivalent either way. My point is I'd probably destroy the bell rather than ring it. And I mean, the ringing
You
would
could
be all
ring
the way
it,
down.
then destroy it.
It's true. Yeah, I'm not as
We just, without knowing who removed the rope.
Yeah.
Just it doesn't seem like anybody removed the rope. It seems
just
like
rotted?
it rotted or fell. It doesn't seem like it was intentionally removed.
Okay.
Just
Then I would say if you think you can stand it, it's going to be loud. You know, go up there and whatever the rope attached to, you can do, but it's gonna you're gonna feel it in your fillings.
Yeah. Is there any kind of like
it is gonna
tools
hurt.
here,
It's
like a
true.
wooden mallet or anything like that I could use to ring it?
Not really. I mean, you could probably, your syringe is probably big enough. You could probably hit it with that and get some noise. But there isn't anything like big hammers or anything like that. You could probably take a leg off one of the pews potentially.
Yeah.
Something of that nature.
Yeah, I'll do that. That seems that seems like it would probably be the
what the hell? Let's ring it. You only live once.
Okay. So just kind of, so it's a simple like square room where there's the double doors which are barred and there's a few pews in front of that. There's a kind of like barrier of pews set up where Maxwell and Fritz are set up with their guns.
Mm-hmm.
And then is there anything you're doing after that, or what is the kind of plan after that? Anything?
I think the plan after that is to run to the roof.
Run to the roof?
Okay. Yeah, it seems to be, if they breach that far, the roof seems like the best option for us.
Yeah, the roof seems like the fallback because we can defend whatever the ladder is, and it's unlikely the Hogmen can climb the roof easly. But yeah, okay. we should try to defend, in the space that we can. But yeah.
Okay.
And
where are you putting the main in the cage?
In the rectory,
probably in the rectory. You think?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you just leave the ox outside? Are you doing anything with the ox cart?
I would just leave it outside unless you wanted to upturn it as another barrier to try to get them to have to get into.
Okay, it's up to you. Okay, so what happens is you do break a leg off of one of the pews. And as the cracking of the pew kind of happens, you hear something slam hard into the double doors. And you hear none other than Sir Pudget banging on the door, screaming, "The Hogmen are coming! The Hogmen are coming! Please let me in!" Just screaming and banging on the door. And with his voice, you hear the sounds of the Hogmen approaching, squealing, rampaging, thunderous hooves on the dirt outside.
Is the doctor still up in the steeple?
I said that he was just breaking the leg off the pew, so okay. I think you're both in the common area.
I don't know if we have time to let whoever that is in, but we should probably try.
Well, the fool may get us killed, but to take Maxwell and Fritz to get the door closed as quickly as we can.
Fritz says, "I think it's best if I stay here and shoot if something gets through."
Okay, that's fine. I will help unbar the door.
Okay. So you unbar the door. Please roll a. Let's see. What do we want to roll for this? Roll. Go ahead and roll your brawn for me.
Me?
No,
me.
Jeff.
I'm about to say
a 2. Rolling 2 2s tonight. Let's go.
You rolled a lot of 6s last week, so let's see here. All right, so this is a fail with bad consequences. You can, if you'd like, spend some guts to do the So basically, at this point, what's happened is you and Maxwell went to open the door. You did manage to open the door, and Sir Pudget is getting inside. But as he's inside, the first wave of Hogmen hit the door and proceed to force it open. You hear them tearing flash from Pudget's back as he tries to like block the door as he tries to get in. But
Okay.
the Hogmen are going to get in most likely. Unless you want to spend guts. If you spend guts to avoid the consequence, I'll say you close the door for now. Or
How
they're going
many
to get in
guts?
now.
One gut?
That's to avoid consequence. Let's see. I believe it's 2 guts.
I'd really like it if you took the 1 guts to deliver an almighty slap to the Hogmen.
You could also do that if you'd like to do that. You could almighty slap
Hogmen into.
Yeah, you could also almighty slap the first Hogman. But they will probably get in then. He won't get in per se.
I'm gonna use 2 guts.
Okay. All right.
To
so
try and get the door slammed.
Okay, so Sir Startle Pudget has gotten in, and you manage the 3 of you managed to close the door shut again against the tide of Hogmen scraping and scratching at the door. You manage to get the bar down to seal the door is closed. Pudget is injured. His back is torn open from the tusks of the Hogmen, and he kind of stumbles in. His bulk.
Okay. All right. I try to help. I try to assist the man back farther towards the defensible points that we have.
Okay.
Well, Maxwell and
he goes basically wherever you lead him at this point.
Okay.
What do you do now? You're standing in front of Maxwell, and you are standing in front of the door, and you can hear just there's a lot of Hogmen. You can hear them squealing and pounding on the door and ramming the door and butting the door, tusks scraping on the door. You know that inevitably it won't hold, but it did buy you time.
I get a vial of the blood from Sir Puget, just so I can study later.
Okay. Pudget lets you do whatever. He's like, "Oh, will this help?" That was delicious stew, by the way. You notice that as he says it's delicious stew, like he has like kind of purple pock marks on his face, that they're spreading out from his mouth. But yeah, all right. So Maxwell moves back to the defensive line. Where would Lady de Grosse like to go?
I will tell Pudget to assist the soldiers. And I don't know, hand him one of the pew legs that we broke off.
Okay. He does. He takes one of the pew legs.
And then I lean down and whisper to Max that something may not be right with Sir Pudget, but if he helps, great. If he doesn't, then you may have to take care of him.
He takes a few test swings with the table leg, and then stands behind the barrier. Fritz has the rifle that you found at the first house set up, and then Maxwell has both of their flintlock pistols. So,
okay, I'm examining Pudget's, because I was looking. So once I look and saw the epoxy stuff around the thing, I do examine his blood a little bit, kind of hold it up to whatever light there is to see if it's.
You can't really see anything.
Okay. Drink it? No.
Drink it. I eat it.
Well, I gotta test it. This is the 1700s. Weird methodology.
I tell somebody else to drink. I'll give it to the old guy in the cage and have him drink it.
Yeah, it's possible. Okay. Well, so at this point, we're kind of waiting for anything to happen. So, we? I really can't think of anything else we could do other than have Maxwell, or not Maxwell, but have Sir Pudget bar the door himself. Like,
go stand against the door.
It would be the best wait that we could provide.
So, The minutes
I
stretch.
thought about that.
The minutes.
I thought about having him bar the door because he was the one that.
Go lay in front of the door, you fool. So minutes pass amongst the cacophony of hogmen outside, the squealing of pigs and scraping of tusks and hooves, and then you hear the bar on the door crack, as if as the wood gives way to the tide. You hear some of the stained glass break above you. As you can only assume, like hogmen are climbing on hogmen to kind of get through the windows. So in moments, once you hear the door crack, the bar gives way and the hogmen flood in. They're of all different sizes, some taller than you, some shorter than you, running ferociously. Some have muzzles covered in blood from people that they've managed to run down on their way to the church. And then you hear a cacophony of gunfire as Maxwell and Fritz begin firing, and the first like wave of hogmen fall as they enter. But they're soon replaced by more hogmen. They charge the line, and Fritz and Maxwell are reloading furiously because they're flintlock weapons, so they reload furiously. And you see them close on the line as you guys and you see Maxwell like drop his pistols and pull like a knife, a military knife that he has, the same knife that you have, the doctor has, that he got from the man in the where he also claimed the gun. And he starts stabbing at the hogmen, leaning over, even as Pudgett does as well, leaning over the barricade. And you see the hogmen kind of grab him and just drag him into the crowd of hogmen, and you hear screaming as he's summarily torn to pieces. And you hear, or sorry, that was not Maxwell, that was Fritz that happened to. And you hear Maxwell yell, "Fritz! They killed Fritz! Fritz!" And then he grabs the rifle and starts shooting into the hogmen, but you know it's not going to be for long. What would you like to do now?
I yell at him to fall back, and I start climbing the bell tower.
You will have to use you'll have to use something to get him to move. He's kind of raging at this point because of the death of his friend. So if you want to command him, you have that one command ability. You can use it if you like. But he probably won't leave the fight. Pudgett does. The minute that you say fall back, Pudgett immediately starts moving back towards you guys.
I don't think Pudgett's going to fit up the bell tower, so he's going to have to stay with the man in the cage.
He'll figure out a way to fit if you let him.
I go first then.
I tell him that he's probably going to have to stay with the man in the cage.
Okay, so you go. Where are you going?
The doctor and I are going to head up the bell tower.
Okay, you head up to the top of the bell tower. As you look out of the bell tower, you do see basically just waves of hogmen descending on the church, surrounding it. There's literally more than you can count.
At this point, I look at the doctor and I go, "Start ringing the bell. Whatever we can do. It isn't going to make any difference at this time. The hogmen are already here. If we can bring somebody else
to their death,
yeah, might save us."
I first of all see if like the if hitting the bell yields the desired effect of like ringing it somewhat, like hitting it.
And you said that the clanger thing in the center is gone, Brent?
No, it's there. It's there. You can see. Yeah, you can see where the rope
then
used
let's
to be.
Start rocking it, Mike. Let's start rock. Like we have two people. We can be on either side of the.
Yeah, you can kind of reach, and you can kind of reach out with the table legs and push it.
Yeah.
You know, you hit it a few times and it doesn't move very much. Once you guys start pushing it, and momentum kind of builds, it definitely starts ringing.
Okay. Do we see downstairs Mr. Pudgett trying to force his way up the?
Yeah. So what happens is a number of things happen. So you do indeed hear the death knell of Maxwell as he is torn asunder by the wave of hogmen. The breaking of stained glass throughout the church. Then as the wave comes in, you assume by this hearing. You hear the old man begging the Hogmen to let him out, and then hear his kind of like growling bites as he bites at the Hogmen, and then eventually you hear his scream as he succumbs as well. Sir Pudget has managed to get through the door and up the stairs part of the way, as the Hogmen start to surge into the bell tower. And you see him kind of look up at you guys, and he makes kind of a gesture, and then basically he just jumps off of the stairs onto a group of Hogmen, killing them, and plugging the way for a few more moments as you ring the bell.
As a last ditch effort here, do we have a way to make fire? Do we have anything like that?
I didn't grab anything to make fire. I still have my dart gun. I have a vial of powerful sedative if you'd like to sleep through the end. I do offer you the coward's way out.
The ghost is like,
I have my dart gun and the claw of a lion.
You have there's torches. You have there's three torches up here.
Yeah, light the torches.
And just as a reminder, you do have some gunpowder. You do have the flask of alcohol. Yeah, you have that sort of stuff.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my syringe and test the alcohol to see if it's flammable. If it's flammable,
it's flammable.
Perfect. I'm going to take my god awful large, huge brass syringe.
Isn't that filled with pig blood? Didn't you take a sample of the hog blood with that?
I'm emptying the pig blood at this point. And then just sucking up.
Okay, so just setting the scene here. What you see, Lady Gross, is you see him pull out his big like brass syringe. You see him squirt a stream of blood across the way. And then you see him stick it into this bottle and begin drawing the alcohol into it.
And I said, grab a torch. And now I have a miniature flamethrower.
You do. Okay. Yeah, you do.
I grab a torch in one hand and the dart gun in the other.
And we start lighting them up, I guess. You
know? You
Roasting
start the Hogmen. It takes a few minutes, long enough for you to prepare whatever you want, for them to tear through the ample bulk of Sir Arthur Pudget in a gory display below. One of you, Shardle, sorry. No, Shardle Pudget. Yeah, Shardle Pudget. Yeah, Shardle Pudget. And it's one of you read a magazine article or newspaper article once about piranha in the Amazon, and this seems to be just what you can imagine it be like.
Exactly
just dreadful. Okay. Innards and tusks. And then they at first they're having a hard time coming up the slick stone stairs because there's blood everywhere now. But they are making their way up the stairs. They can only come like 2 at a time, so it's not a large group. So
I can spray 2 of them with.
You're gonna try and flamethrower the ones at the start.
Yeah.
You know what? I have this huge brass syringe for a reason.
Let's see. What would be? Let's see. Go ahead, and I am going to let you use your wits for this because it's an ingenious invention of use of your brass,
huge brass,
brass needle. So go ahead and roll your wits,
and it explodes.
The consequence is you're now on.
I was ahead of my time.
Oh
wow!
You did.
That's quite the invention.
Fantastically well.
Little did you know, this is the flamethrower predecessor.
If we get out of this, Doctor, I'd like to talk about funding some of your research.
So 2 sixes are a complete success with a bonus. So what happens is you pump Lady DeGrope holds the torch out, and you do one. You don't push the whole thing.
Once. I've got to.
So you don't use the whole thing. So you put a stream, and it arcs out, and it just sets the first wave of pigmen on fire, and they all start screaming and squealing. It's a different tone squealing from the aggressive squealing earlier. Squeals of pain, and they proceed to fall in front of the door, buying you more time as the bell rings.
And now it smells like a barbecue pit,
and it smells sweetly of barbecued pork
and burnt hair,
and for a moment you think, oh, poor Sir Shardle, he could have had all the bacon that he wished for. As there's now a small pyre at the bottom of burning pig flesh.
I read somewhere in the Caribbean they did huge pig barbacoas or something like that.
So you have managed to buy yourselves more time, and the pigmen are stalled. They will not move past the burning bodies, but they'll crush eventually forward and stamp out the fire, you think.
Okay, so we bought ourselves a little bit of time. What do you think is the next move, Lady DeGrasse?
We got to wait and see if somebody comes from hearing the bell ring, I guess.
How loud is it? Can we make it louder, or is it as loud as we can?
It should be pretty loud.
It's pretty loud. It hurts. It's not comfortable.
Okay.
It's not comfortable for you guys to stand in the bell tower with the bell ringing, and it doesn't really stop once you get it rolling. It kind of continues to toll for quite some time. It continues to toll. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I can't think of. I'm just drawing a blank on anything else that could really get us anywhere other than just literally getting into the stone tiles and then watching them kind of slip and slide down the roof. That's like the last thing that I can think of.
Does Lady DeGrope want to do anything?
I mean, we're stuck on the roof. The place is surrounded by Hogmen, right?
Do you guys want to climb out on the roof, or are you just staying up in the bell tower?
Yeah, let's climb out on the roof.
Okay, so it is kind of that is kind of hard. It is kind of a drop, so you wind up kind of in a situation where you're more hanging off the bell tower. But as you're hanging off the bell tower, you see between the fire and the fighting and the sacrifice of the people that you've gathered, the sun has started to rise. And as the sun rises and the bell tolls, the light washes over the pigmen, and you see some of them burst into flame. Some of them turn into people. Some of them just wander off looking for the dark.
You said some burst into people?
Yeah, some change into people. Some burst into flame. Others just kind of wander off looking for dark places to hide from the sunlight. And the sounds of the Hogmen fade. The smell of cooking pork in the air as you guys hang from the bell tower. And the night of the Hogmen is over. You have survived.
Okay, now how do we get off this roof?
Okay, both of you roll dice to pull yourselves back into the bell tower. Both of you roll might to pull yourselves back into the tower.
Wow, you're on fire, Mike.
I was kidding. I was kidding, but Mike definitely just like...
Like, you know how when you see the Ninja Warrior and those people like kind of turn and they do like the reverse flip onto the warped wall where they like reverse their grip and then they go up that way. That's how I got back into the bell towers. I like
right. So Mr. Troadwickle managed to quickly scramble like a ninja, or what you read in a pulp story once you heard about a ninja, back into the tower. But Lady DeGrope's fingers slip as she tries to pull herself back up. But due to Troad's weird dexterity, he does grab Lady DeGrope and help her back into the bell tower.
Okay.
And that
I saved you, Mr. Grope. Don't worry.
And that is Night of the Hogmen.
There we go.
Well, that was crazy. I was pretty sure we were all dying.
I'll post the whole adventure for you guys and you can read it. But they really don't suggest an end. They say it kind of ends how it ends. So it is there is a chance that you could just the basic end is you're trapped in this church.
What happens? Right.
So
you can't possibly keep the Hogmen out.
Right.
You don't have enough to finish them all off.
It's an impossible situation, but it is on a timer. Like the idea is you're just trying to buy time the whole time.
Mhm.
And you guys collected most of the resources. So you guys did really well. The farmer and the lady are very helpful, and they can be talked into leaving the farm. But you have to actually like try.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like you have to try to.
Do they ever talk about what happens if we just stayed and the master would have taken care of us?
Oh, you die. The man, he's just crazy and locks you in the basement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I kind of figured.
He's just crazy and locks you in the basement and babbles about the master, and then just locks whatever party members go in the basement. He just locks them down there.
So you were just like, is Mike gonna literally do it?
I was like, huh, is Mike gonna go in the basement and get locked in the basement? And
I thought he might. No, I mean, and honestly, it probably was true to the character. I mean,
right.
it was intriguing.
And then you'd burn time because like the old lady can be talked into letting you out and stuff like that. So like that's just made to burn time. It's not like you're gonna be trapped there. Unless, well, you guys might have been.
What happened to Pudget with the sores or whatever pustules on his face?
The stew's cursed. Okay. If you eat the stew, it's cursed. So that was he had some curse that was gonna probably take him out eventually. Anyways, so this is one of those scenarios where they don't give you a ton of information. It's both railroady and not at the same time. It's like these are the things that are there. Make them run through them, and then they end at the church. So basically everything that had any flavor was just me basically adding stuff. So I hope it was fun. Did you guys have fun?
It was fun.
I think so.
Comments, questions, concerns?
Not off the top of my head. I'd be curious what your thoughts are when we kind of do a wrap up at the end of this, like how the full game looks. Does it change considerably? Because it feels like it has kind of in the same vein as like Mothership, a tight rule set that allows you to do quite a bit. So but if you're rolling can get you in trouble very quickly.
It can, but you do always have the option to spend guts, which I think is one thing that I like. So one of the struggles for me about this system was when I started reading into it, I was like, oh, this is like inevitable where you roll a certain number of D6s and then screw yourself, basically. But it does give you options to do like use guts to avoid a consequence. You also have have abilities that you can use that may cost guts, but they just happen, like your spore ability or the slap ability. Like those things just happen and they have an effect. And so I like those. I don't think it doesn't. I'm not sure if it's just this scenario yet or the whole book, but it doesn't make use of the Forged in the Dark. Like I planned this sort of scenario where you like make something up
with a flashback.
Oh, okay.
Which I like. I don't like that. I don't really like that mechanic because I feel like that's one of those things where it's like, entertain me. Hey, player, entertain me. Do something special. And you're asking them to really think on their feet with no prep. And I don't really like to do that to players.
But it's that kind of like heist, like that. When you watch a heist movie, they're like,
yeah, it's
so you thought you'd captured us, but instead
it's Ocean's 11 style is what it's described as. So
yeah.
But I'm glad you guys had fun.
It was fun.
I like the scenario a lot. I would probably run it again because I just think it's a clever scenario and it's a clever one shot. It's pretty railroady, but there's a lot of like choices that you can make and things you can interact with, which I like. I was thinking of reskinning it and making it like the movie Black Sheep, where it's sheepmen. So there may be an adventure someday where you're fighting off sheepmen instead.
This feels vaguely familiar.
This is vaguely
familiar.
Black Sheep was a show that I shouldn't have enjoyed as much as I did.
I love that movie.
It's so ridiculous.
Because it is ridiculous, yes.
But it is.
But this kind of reminded me of that. And and there's no explanation. It's just the Hogmen show up. There is one. I did cut one scene out where somebody's trapped in a tree and pigs are like gnawing the tree down. And you can get another
gnawing the tree down.
Yeah. And I cut that out because it just seemed to lengthen the scenario and there wasn't really a benefit for it.
Well, I think the benefit it tells you that you really just like you can't just like hide in a tree and be like, oh, we'll let the Hogmen
Right.
pass.
The
You
ho-
know,
yeah, they'll
it's to
run by.
reinforce that they're just voracious.
They won't
um,
notice.
Yeah,
insatiable.
well, it gets you another person potentially, so there's another resource. But you guys were almost full on the resource clock, anyways, so I didn't feel like
Yeah.
that was that big of a deal. But if you don't have, so what I thought was going to happen, the way that you guys kind of approached this at the beginning was you just are going to beeline to the church and gather 0 resources, which is bad because it's basically like, yep, the Hogmen flood in the church.
And
You all-
then we
You all
just
die.
yeah, we're all dead.
You weren't
I can
expecting
I can see that. Yeah.
Well, like you don't make it to the church, but because you guys weren't going to spend any time either, though, but you just weren't going to have any resources. So you would have been in this weird situation where it's like you're just basically waiting at the church for something to happen.
Well, making a flamethrower, that's really what was going to happen.
It worked very well.
The
surprised.
flamethrower, yeah, was a nice twist.
It was a nice delivery system.
Excellent roll.
Yeah, I was
Mhm.
one
I
of those
agree.
clutch rolls. Like very rarely do I feel like, when you get a clutch, like I don't really make the clutch rolls where it's just like I needed 20 out of 20 on this roll to like not be dead and then roll the 20. Like that happens and you're just like, yeah. Well, this is 2 6s right at the right time.
It was
So-
at the perfect time. So yeah.
Yep.
So thank you for running through Night of the Hogmen with me. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
I hope you had fun. It was a fun read and
was fun.
fun to run.
Yeah, short little adventure, and then a nice little adventure. I think, like I said, I'll be curious to see what you have to say for our next video. So
Yeah, do a little
was
wrap
good.
up on Thursday. That's the
Yeah.
plan.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right. Well, everybody, I think that's it for tonight. We'll catch you again soon. Jeff, do you want to tell them how to contact us if they're outside of the comments on YouTube?
Yeah, you can find us on most social media platforms. We are at Rollwise. You can also email us, rollwiseguys@gmail.com.
And as always, roll well, roll wise, and be safe out there. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks.